might be curious as to why Andrew Hasbun is joining me on the morning edition of News Now. Typically, Andrew only joins me in the morning if it's a really big deal.
Well, we got a big deal today.
You get a lot of big deals.
Well, this one, this one is there are stories that are shocking,
right?
Because of whatever things going on.
Sure.
And there are stories that really make a lot of people very angry.
And this
is one that makes people very angry because we're talking about theft of taxpayer dollars. So we did this story yesterday. We had this exclusive video of a guy who has been working for the state for 35 years. He was the head of procurement for AHCCCS. If you don't know what AHCCCS is the state's Medicaid program. So this is basically the health care and welfare program for the poorest, the working poor, and the poorest people in the state. So AHCCCS is always having issues with funding, and it's just I'm sure you've all heard about issues with healthcare all over the country.
Right.
So this is the Medicaid program for the state. It covers the poorest of the people in Arizona. So this guy was the head of procurement for AHCCCS for about a decade or so. He had worked for the state for 35 years, been with AHCCCS for 27 years, and as head of procurement, he's basically in charge of how they spend their money.
I see.
And so the original accusation was that he had stolen $1.5 million over a period of about 10 years. Now they're thinking that number is well over $1.5 million, possibly to the tune of almost $10 million over a span of a decade.
And how did he get away with this?
Okay, so yesterday when he was arrested at his home, he was fired on August 18th after some kind of information was developed that this was happening. The AG's office went into his office and raided his office, and they fired him from AHCCCS that day on August 18th. Now, fast forward a couple weeks later, they built their case. They raided his home last night.
Home right here?
They actually raided 4 homes. So there was one in North Phoenix, 2 others in Phoenix,
right here.
and I think that's the one in North Phoenix. That's not his house.
Oh, okay.
That's like Desert Hills area, which is near Anthem.
Oh, okay.
So they raided 4 properties: his home, I believe his partner's home, who helped him out in this alleged scheme, and the homes of his kids. So what prosecutors are alleging, and we're learning this today. Yesterday they didn't go into the details about why they did all this. They just kind of gave us the basic info. But all of it was said in court, and today we have the video. So apparently he was taking the money, this is what he's accused of, funneling it to his business partner, who is not a state employee, and then dispersing it to his family members. That's the allegations from the state.
Okay.
To the tune of millions of dollars. And we'll play the video for you in a second. If you want to show the yesterday stuff first. So for a little bit of background, this is what the story we did yesterday when it happened, and now we can elaborate some more that we have today's information.
Right. So let's go ahead and watch yesterday's story.
Employee, a man working for us, is arrested at his home. Officers surprising the suspect. I mean, really surprising him because he was arrested with no clothes on, taken into custody, and then given clothes while sitting in the back of a police SUV. The man's accused of embezzling more than $1 million while working for the state's Medicaid program. Andrew Hasbun on this story. That's a lot of money, Andrew.
It sure is, Troy. He was a top official at AHCCCS, which is the state's Medicaid program. He was arrested this morning and brought here to the 4th Avenue jail. He's accused of defrauding the state out of $1.5 million over a period of about 10 years. 63-year-old Michael Veit worked for the state for 35 years. He was recently fired from his job as Chief Procurement Officer for AHCCCS. According to the Attorney General's Office, AHCCCS's own Inspector General noticed some irregularities and turned his findings over to investigators.
There's bad people out there that do bad things. Sometimes they work for the government. Anytime those allegations are made to the Attorney General's office, we take immediate action.
Special agents with the AG's office served search warrants at 4 locations, 3 in Phoenix and 1 in Surprise, including Veit's North Phoenix home near 7th Street and Thunderbird. Investigators won't release details about how they believe he defrauded the state of $1.5 million, but they say it all began back in 2006.
Any amount is too much, and we have a responsibility as the Attorney General's office and in state government to keep these people and hold these people accountable.
In addition to the longtime state employee, investigators also arrested 67-year-old Michael Cameron. Cameron is not a state employee, but is believed to be involved in the alleged scheme. In a statement, Governor Doug Ducey said, "Let this be a wake-up call to any state employee who tries to cheat the system and exploit our taxpayers for personal gain. Not on our watch. Actions that violate the law or the public's trust in their government will not be tolerated." And while he spent 35 years with the state, he spent 27 of those 35 years working for Access. He was fired on August 18th after an initial investigation. But this investigation, according to the AG's office, is not over, and more arrests could be coming. Reporting live in downtown Phoenix, I'm Andrew Hasbun, Fox 10 News. All right, so you got the background there.
Right.
In the story I mentioned, they're not releasing details. Well, they don't release the details, but they got to tell the judge about the details. And that's public record.
You get that.
So now we have the details, which is why don't they just release them, because we're going to get them anyway.
Right, you're going to look for them.
So we can kind of tell you how it all worked. And they'll explain this more in the video we're about to show you, but we'll kind of talk about it now. So Icon Office Solutions is this company that Access did business with. And in my understanding is they're like, copy machine type stuff, and, paying this Office Solutions place for their services.
Okay.
Lots of businesses do that. So they would write checks to this company, Icon Office Solutions. And as part of that process, apparently, they would write like a little bit extra to another company that was also called Icon Office Solutions. And the suspect would basically give the money to his business partner, the checks. And instead of giving all of the money to Icon Office Solutions, the legitimate company, they had another company that was doing business as Icon Office Solutions.
Which is what they owned.
And so a portion of the money went to the legit Icon Office Solutions, and a portion of the money went to the illegal, the illegal operation, or the alleged illegal operation. It's very sneaky.
Pretty clever, though.
So they, when they raided his office, they found a briefcase in the office which had a ledger and all this stuff about the money and where it was going. And so from there, they found this business partner and the bank accounts and all that kind of stuff. And so right now they're thinking $1.5 million is what they can say at this point that they know has been taken from Access.
How did they figure it out, though?
Somebody within Access noticed some irregularities and turned it over to the Inspector General's office for Access. The Inspector General looked into it some more and then turned it over to the AG's office.
I see. Apple Snapple saying, let me get this straight. He stole taxpayers' money, and more taxpayers' money will now go to this. A restitution goes to whom?
Well, back to the state, back to the taxpayers, most likely. That'll be determined in time, but the victims are the taxpayers of Arizona. So likely, if there is restitution, it'll be paid back to the state, because it is state money that is taken as taxpayer dollars. We're all not going to get a refund check from this one. Don't get excited.
To answer your question, this means nothing for us as individuals.
But here's the real surprise.
Yeah.
So $1.5 million is what they believe has been taken so far. That's what they can at least nail down right now.
Right.
But they cross-referencing the records with the legitimate Icon Office Solutions and what they claim that they've received from Access and what Access's records show that has been paid out. And there's a discrepancy there of about $10 million. So this is what they said in open court. So they're thinking that this potentially could be as much as $10 million over a period of 10 years.
And where did this money go?
So this money was put in that account and then distributed to the families of the Access employee and the business partner as well.
And did these family members know what allegedly shady dealings?
Well, see, now only two people so far. Only two people have been arrested. Michael Veit, who was the head of procurement for Access, and keep in mind he'd been working for the state for 35 years. 27 of those years were with Access, so he was a long-time employee. He was 63, I believe. And then Michael Cameron is the other suspect, and he is not a state employee. And he was the one that they're alleging basically deposited the checks and kind of ran the bank account.
Ran the fake icon.
Ran the fake business, okay. Yeah. So those are the only two that have been arrested so far, but they say this is not over and more arrests could be coming. You'll hear it in the video that we're about to play. But when they say in open court, when they raided the home of Michael Veit, the Access employee's son, they found $200,000 in cash and $17,000 in cash in his wife's purse.
Who carries that?
Someone who is trying to flee the country, maybe, and that's what
saying that all the family members.
Well, no, I don't know that. I don't know that. But that would be someone. That would be people who. I mean, that's not a normal practice.
They assume that those family members were trying to free.
No, I don't know that. I probably should.
No, I'm saying, but is that what's a? But I'm
going to read you right off.
The suspect.
I'm going to read you right off the court paperwork here that they found evidence that he may have been trying to flee to Belize.
The
suspects?
Not the suspects' family members.
Well, who knows?
We don't know.
Who knows? I don't know. But why would you have $200,000 in your house in cash and $17,000 in your purse?
That's a lot.
you can use your imagination. I'm
right,
just stating
and
the facts.
Your money goes a long way in third world countries, or not third world, but you know what I mean.
Well, the information was
Second
obtained.
world.
This is for Michael Veit. Information was obtained that he may have had plans to flee to Belize.
Oh, wow.
So they had a cash bond now for $1 million. They're not going to be getting out of jail anytime soon.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean,
Pretty
unless they use
unbelievable.
stolen money to bail out.
Well, the money's been the account's basically been frozen.
Okay.
So, which would maybe explain why they had so much cash.
They had taken it out before.
Get the money before it gets frozen.
So they kind of knew this was coming.
Well, he had been fired on the 18th, and it took about a week and a half to get all the paperwork and all the stuff for
And
a
he
search
knew
warrant.
why he was fired.
I can't imagine he didn't know.
I'm assuming they didn't tell him I'm just wondering if they gave him the heads up. We have all the stuff about you. We're coming after you. Mm-hmm. But I would wonder if they would say all that.
He was fired for a reason. He probably knew what was going on. I mean, how could he not?
It's true. D just rocking OMG $10 million. Can you say crazy, man?
It's a lot of money.
Really? How did this guy think he would get away with taking $1.5 million? Apparently even more. Joni saying he's a flight risk. I'm shocked.
Clearly.
I'm amazed at how people come up with these schemes. Because we've seen random stories like this, embezzlement. I'm like,
Since when is there a law against carrying large sums of cash is another question. There is no law, but it certainly doesn't look like you're just, be on your best behavior when you're under investigation and you got $200,000 in cash in your house and you've been accused of embezzling money from the state. So, no, it's not illegal to have large sums of money in your house, but it can certainly be suspicious.
right, you might have large sums of money after a night in Vegas.
Even then,
But
like,
even
seriously?
not that much. Deposit that right away. All right.
And good luck depositing $200,000 in cash.
Yeah, how would you
It doesn't
definitely...
happen.
It would have raised some alarms.
People who have large sums of cash laying around their house there's usually a story behind the cash.
Typically an illegal element to
I'm
that
not saying
story.
anything. I'm just saying there's usually a story.
Yeah,
Banks just don't dish out hundreds of thousands of dollars in cash easily.
And normal people don't just keep random cash around the house because that's just unsafe.
In fact, large sums of cash they get flagged and stuff, Anyway, they had a lot of money in the house, bottom line, which doesn't bode well for their
Story.
appearance.
Yeah. Happily, maybe not, but maybe. However, some people do not use credit like me. I pay cash for everything. You can deposit large sums.
Yes, you can.
Yeah.
I know, but it's not easy. And usually, you don't just walk in with a bag full of cash and say, "Here, I'm going to deposit $200,000 in cash."
Right.
That's called suspicious. People ask questions when that happens.
Rob, I carry $17,000 in my wallet on the light rail.
Good luck with that. Let me know.
Well, he started, he used an acronym for laughing, and I'm guessing he's not serious.
No,
I would not
he's not
encourage you.
serious.
I'm like, if you're carrying $17,000 in your wallet, I hope you're driving your car.
So the counts against them, I'll just read it off before
Sure.
I play the other video. 1 count of conspiracy, 5 counts of fraudulent schemes, 5 counts of taking the identity of another person. I'm assuming that's for the Office Solutions account. 5 counts of theft, 13 counts of money laundering, 13 counts of trafficking and stolen property. So they served search warrants at 4 locations, 4 homes, all throughout the valley, and found all this stuff. They're not detailing what exactly they found inside there, but I'll read just a little brief snippet from the court records. Among the items seized was a handwritten ledger which itemized several transactions documenting that money was benefiting Michael Veit, Michael Veit's adult sons, and a party referred to as MJC, which are the initials for Michael Cameron, who is the other guy involved. Attached to the handwritten ledger were canceled checks from the Doing Business as Icon Office Solutions bank account, which included checks written to Veit's sons and the sons' businesses. Search of Michael Veit's Access office also led to discovery of legitimate Icon invoices which had been tampered with. Specifically, it was observed that label tape had been affixed to the Icon invoice, which covered up the actual amount that Icon was billing Access. So there you have it. They also had email communications that included instructions from Veit to Cameron on how Veit wanted funds to be distributed. Access checks in the briefcase totaled $1.5 million. They expect this amount will increase as agents are able to obtain bank records associated with the bogus account.
I don't know how people think they just won't get caught for things. I mean, they got away with it for years, allegedly. I should not say that they did. They allegedly got away with it for years. Mm-hmm. But I'm always fascinated.
He's the head of procurement, and this is another question that I think needs to be answered here: is where are the checks and balances? So you have one guy who basically was able to write all these checks without anybody noticing.
Without anyone else working there to...
for almost 9.5 years. Like, how's that even possible that this could gone on for so long?
Obviously,
and no one raising any, where's the checks and balances?
Unless
where's
they
the auditing?
just thought that's how much money was going
maybe
to the real Icon Solutions, because that's how much is spent on printing and copies. Mm-hmm. I don't know. Or maybe people just weren't paying attention. Mm-hmm. That seems like a more logical answer. Let's see. Anything over 10 grand deposited in bank is questioned.
That's true.
Tony's saying. Happily, I don't put money in bank, so I keep my cash at home and in a safe. Happily, don't tell people where you live.
Yeah.
Because that sounds very dangerous. Even if it's in a safe, that warrants a home invader.
Most banks are insured up to $250,000 by the FDIC, so your money is not going to disappear.
Right. Whereas if someone knows you keep a lot of money in your at your home, who's to say they're not going to invade your home and demand that you open it and hold not to get extreme.
Shall we play the courtroom video?
Sure.
So this is their initial appearance after they were arrested yesterday. The two of them, they spent some time in jail being questioned, and this is them in court in the jail having their initial appearance talking about their bail. The people you're going to hear in the background talking are the prosecutors from the AG's office and from the county attorney's office, and they're the ones who kind of detail what all happened.
Right.
And this is the most new information. This is where you're going to hear about how it happened or how it allegedly happened, and about the money involved. So if we want to play it.
Yeah, this all took place yesterday.
This all took place late last night, around midnight last night.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is a 24-hour
11 o'clock
system.
last night. Yeah. Midnight this morning.
Got it.
The same arguments with respect to both defendants?
Correct, Your Honor.
Okay. So I'm not going to have them both come up here at the same time, but I'm not going to have you repeat everything twice.
Yes, Your Honor.
Unless you tell me otherwise, I'm going to assume what you're saying is with respect to both Mr. Cameron and Mr. Veit.
Yes,
and if there's something separate about each of them, then you'll need to make that clear to me.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. All right, Mr. Veit, your full name, please?
Michael John Veit.
And a date of birth?
3/23/52.
All right, sir, you are here on new accusations. It is one count of conspiracy, a Class 2 felony. My requirement is generally that there be a conspiracy to do something, and so while I have a suspicion what it is, it's not listed, so there's no probable cause right now on the conspiracy charge. But as you've heard me say a couple of times in this court, that does not mean that that charge is dismissed. The prosecutor can always present additional information later with respect to the conspiracy to make it a more specific accusation. The remaining allegations are 5 counts of fraudulent schemes and artifices, each Class 2 felonies, 13 counts of money laundering in the first degree, each Class 2 felonies, 13 counts of trafficking in stolen property in the first degree, Class 2 felonies, 5 counts of aggravated taking the identity of others or another entity, Class 3 felonies, and 5 counts of theft by control of property. Those are Class 5 felonies. Based on the information that you gave to the pretrial services, I am appointing counsel for you. And does counsel wish to be heard on release conditions?
Yes, Your Honor. Mary McGarry on behalf of the state.
Stevie Plissis on behalf of the Attorney General's Office, Your Honor.
Your Honor, the state is asking for $1 million cash-only bond with respect to both Mr. Veit and Mr. Cameron. The victim in this case, in one sense, is Access, a governmental entity. In a far more important sense, it's the most indigent members of the population who expect to get that fund to pay for necessary medical services. Mr. Veit, during the period in question, was the Chief Procurement Officer of Access. Therefore, with his conduct, he violated a position of trust. And he did so over a period of 9 years. while the amounts alleged currently reflect only a small part of the crimes that were taking place over the 9 years, it was from evidence found in Mr. Veit's access office that reflected he had been receiving money from Access to presumably pay for Icon, a legitimate business with whom Access did legitimate business. However, Mr. Cameron and Mr. Veit actually had a DBA, doing business as Icon account. Mr. Cameron was the signator on that account. From the small amount of evidence that only reflects about 36 months over the past 9 years, it reflects the Icon payment by Access, a handwritten ledger that appears to be in Mr. Veit's handwriting, and a series of, first of all, a payment to Mr. Cameron that seemed to be approximately 20% of each amount each time, and contained individual checks that were made out to benefit Michael Veit and his family. So both Mr. Veit and Mr. Cameron were receiving the money that was designated for a very different purpose. The amount in his office reflected $1.6 million. However, today the state received information that while Access had paid one amount to the legitimate, or to what they believed to be Icon over 9 years, the legitimate Icon with whom they contracted and did services said that they had been paid 10.13 approximately million less than Access believed they had paid. So the state submits that that amount is going to be found, at least in large part, in this DBA account that was being signed on by Mr. Cameron, but that was benefiting Mr. Veit and his family to a large degree. The view of the victim, obviously, is that these two people are also a flight risk in addition to the severity of the crime. Considerable assets were found in the defendant's possession. Right now, a preliminary search, and this isn't including any bank accounts, it appears to be about $2.7 million. Additionally, considerable and unusual cash amounts were found in the possession of one of Mr. Veit's sons, who had $200,000 cash in his house and $17,000 in his wife's purse. There were additional amounts of cash, unusual, all of which suggest assets and expenditures that far outweigh any legitimate source of income that Mr. Veit and Mr. Cameron had. We'd further ask that the court order the surrender of passports of both Mr. Veit and Mr. Cameron. At this point, we did not find the passport belonging to Mr. Cameron, but were given information by a bank that he'd withdrawn approximately $42,000 over the past week and expressed that he was planning a trip to Belize. So because of all of these circumstances and because of the immense betrayal of trust and wrongful conduct, we are asking for $1 million cash only and the surrender of passports. Additionally, if they should post bond, we would ask that they be released on an ankle monitor. Additionally, I should say that there were, in addition to the handwriting that appeared to be Mr. Veit's designating amounts that were to be paid out, which seemed to be the ones that had been tracked, all direct benefits to his family, and the checks signed by what appears to be Mr. Cameron. There were also emails found on the work computer belonging to Mr. Veit that showed Mr. Veit directing Mr. Cameron directly what to do with the funds in the account that matched up with some of the specific checks and transactions that were found.
That's it, Your Honor.
I'm
No, that's
sorry,
it,
Your Honor.
We're going to
Nothing
ask
further.
Yes. Good.
amounts of monies at least alleged at this early part of the investigation and the court does recognize that as the investigation continues, things may change one way or another, but the court can only make a decision based on the information that it has available to it at the time of this proceeding. So the court will impose a cash only appearance bond at $1 million. In addition, if that bond is posted and the defendant is released on bond, there will be pretrial services provision with electronic monitoring. Among the release conditions are not to return to the scene of the alleged crime, no contact with the alleged victims, witnesses, arresting officers, or co-defendants. You must provide a local address and surrender all passports at the export date of release. Any other conditions listed?
No, Your Honor, thank you.
All right, Mr. Veit, again, I have appointed an attorney for you. Your next court date is scheduled for September the 9th at 8:30. Step to the right, sir, and sign the copies. Mr. Cameron, please.
Michael Joseph Cameron, April 14th, 1948. I'm sorry, Judge. I wear hearing aids, and I
Turned off my microphone when the state's attorney was speaking, and I forgot to turn it back on, so excuse me. All right, sir. You are here on new allegations as well. Again, one count of conspiracy, a Class 2 felony, but for the reasons I explained earlier, I'm not finding probable cause on that particular allegation at this time. But as I explained earlier, that does not mean that that count is dismissed. It just means based on the information available to me now, there was no probable cause on that. The remaining allegations, I do find probable cause. 5 counts of fraudulent schemes and artifices, each Class 2 felonies. 13 counts of money laundering in the first degree, each Class 2 felonies. 13 counts of trafficking and stolen property in the first degree, each Class 2 felonies. 5 counts of aggravated taking the identity of another person or entity, each Class 3 felonies. And 5 counts of theft by control of property, each Class 5 felonies. Based on the information that was provided to pretrial services and then to myself, the court does not find that you are indigent, so I will not be appointing counsel for you at this point. That's not a permanent decision. Go ahead.
If you don't mind. The amounts of money that I told the young man earlier, I will not be making any money because janitorial service is provided to the state, and the rental income that I receive is from the state. And so unless the state continues to pay for the services, I will have no income.
So the monthly income that you reported to pretrial services is all based on a services contract that you have with the state of Arizona?
Yes,
is that
sir.
Correct?
Yes, sir.
And no other sources, allegations aside, no other sources of income? Is that what you're telling me?
Yes.
All right. I think it's safe to assume, given the allegations, that the services contract between Mr. Cameron and the state might be nullified or rescinded based on the information just given to me. The court will appoint counsel for Mr. Cameron. That will be an attorney at a different office. All right, so based on that information, I have appointed counsel for you, sir. And does the state have any additional information with respect to Mr. Cameron that it would like to present at this point?
Your Honor, nothing additional. A reminder perhaps that over the past week, he's withdrawn over $42,000, but nothing as to ongoing source of income, Your Honor.
Your Honor, the mention of going to Belize was in humor to the clerk, not the clerk.
Let me give you this warning,
Okay, yes, sir.
before
Sorry.
you continue, and I will let you continue if that's what you want to do. So I've appointed a lawyer for you.
Yes.
Everything that you're saying right now is being recorded. The prosecutors are here in the room. Anything that you say, if they feel will help them prove their case at any future court proceedings, you can bet as I'm sitting here that they will use it against you.
Understand,
So
sir.
with that warning, go ahead.
All I'm saying is I am in no way a flight risk. I had a stroke in January. I had a seizure 3 weeks ago. I'm under constant 3 to 6 month care by Mayo Hospital. I'm not supposed to be traveling out of the country because insurance is prohibitive. I'm a third generation Phoenician. I've been a small businessman for over 30 years. I'm not going anywhere, and I'm in no way, shape, or form a flight risk. I've got children and grandchildren here. There's no place else that's home for me besides here.
All right. All right. Thank you, sir. All right. The court has considered the remarks of Mr. Cameron. The court has considered remarks of the state's counsel. Again, this is an initial appearance. This is the beginning of what is going to be a longer process. Based on the information available to me at this point, the court does agree that $1 million cash-only bond is reasonable. In addition, pretrial services and electronic monitoring are ordered. This is not a permanent decision. You and your lawyer will know how to petition the court for modifications of the release conditions as new developments arise, and that's true for both sides. Among your release conditions, do not return to the scene of the alleged crime, no contact with any of the alleged witnesses or complainants, the arresting officers, or any co-defendant, no drugs without any valid prescription, continue to provide the court with a proof of a local address, and you also must surrender any passport at your next court date if you are released. All right, sir, if you step to the right and sign where indicated, you'll get a copy of this document as well.
Your Honor, I take 7 to 8 medications. I don't have a list of them. I would like to.
As part of the booking process, I believe it's a nurse, but it's a medical person from the Correctional Health Services will interview you, and so you'll have to give them all the information.
But I don't have the information.
Okay. A family member could call the jail and give them that information.
But it's imperative that I get these medications. I wasn't allowed to take, or I couldn't take blood thinner today.
I understand that. A family member can provide that information. All right.
Fine.
All right. Please step to the right.
Thank you.
Thank you.